All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Many thanks for joining us today for the UNH Sustainability Institute Sustainability Fellowship Post-Org information session. I want to introduce myself. My name is Alexis Dwyer. I am the Program and Network Stewardship Coordinator at the UNH Sustainability Institute, and a key part of my role is coordinating the Sustainability Fellowship. And I'm delighted to have you joining us today to talk about that program, talk about applying to host a fellow, and what it is like to be a host organization. So here you can see our agenda. We're going to have an introduction, and then going to go over a little bit of a program overview. And then we're going to hear, the highlight today is hearing from past Sustainability Fellowship host organizations. And then I'll dive into the RFP overview and go over next steps and then have our questions. So that first part, including the host organizations, will take us about 40 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions until 1 p.m., which that's really the exciting part that we want to hear from you and hear what help or questions you might have about applying for a fellow. And before we start, I wanted to let you know we are recording the webinar and we'll have it up on our website soon. So with that, let's get started. So getting to know UNH a little bit more, if you're not familiar, UNH is a national leader in sustainability. In 2022, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of the UNH Sustainability Institute. And UNH is super proud of being one of only 9 schools in the US to currently hold Platinum Stars rating from the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. We're also in the top 10 of the coolest schools of 2021 by the Sierra Club. And UNH students really drive sustainability leadership by being involved in the Changemaker Collaborative. And the Changemaker Collaborative is where the fellowship lies, and it brings together students, faculty, staff, businesses, nonprofits, and government agencies committed to advancing positive change for the good of all. And oftentimes we get asked, what is sustainability all about? And that really is a great question, because a lot of times people might initially jump straight to environment and climate, and all of it is tied together. And UNH really aligns itself with the 17 UN Sustainability Development Goals, which you can see listed here. So thus really think about working in many different areas and disciplines to advance all these goals. And it's really helpful to see this image because it reminds us that sustainability is a very large umbrella where there are very many potential projects that we can work on to advance the UN SDGs. So of course, we're here today to discuss the Sustainability Fellowship. The fellowship is all about matching amazing undergraduates or post-baccalaureate, so that's anyone who's graduated with their undergrad degree, or maybe they're pursuing a master's or a PhD, with excellent organizations like yours that are doing the important work in sustainability. So we really set the stage with you with well thought out and planned projects in a collaborative atmosphere. And in turn, our goal is to build resilient communities and a resilient world. So that's super brief overview of the program. So let's go into it a little bit further and discuss the parts that set this opportunity apart from other possible internships. So typical internship opportunities are what many of us here may be familiar with. I've had so many interns over the years and I absolutely love them, but many times internships are more of a benefit to the intern. The intern gets a glimpse of what it's like to work in a professional setting. They get to support a couple of projects, but by the end of the summer, many times it's kind of more of a burden than a support to have an intern working with you. So it's a lot of work with maybe more minimal results, and it lacks a structure where you feel strongly connected to the intern and like you're making an impact for them and they're making an impact for you. And then how many times does their end date sneak up on you and you can't believe it's already time to say goodbye? So internships can be helpful for the interns, but there maybe is a missed opportunity for a bigger impact here. So that's where the fellowship comes in. What sets a fellowship program apart is not only would you be working with a fellow at your organization, but you will be a part of a bigger program that has multiple advantages and assets. So first of all, We design the projects so that the fellow can own them and create a high impact. So the fellow will take responsibility of the fellowship project, and the project is designed to get something done, which will sustain your organization into the future, which creates an impact on the communities in the region you're working in. At the end of the summer, fellows will have added to your organization and have had an immersive and high quality learning experience, possibly even career launching experiences for fellows who are interested in engaging in sustainability careers. Oftentimes we even say it fast tracks their career learning journey. And then of course, the high impact project that benefits the organization and the fellow also means that there's an advancement in sustainability too. We're grateful for organizations like your own to partner together to create this triple win, a win for your organization, for students and postbacks, and for the world at large. So here we have a quote from one of our 2022 sustainability host organizations that I think is really a wonderful reflection and summation on what sets the fellowship program apart. So I have been so in awe of the UNHSI fellowship this summer, and although I have supervised, hosted fellows, interns through other programs, this was my first time with UNHSI. The way in which the fellowship fosters community by building structures for mentorship, cross-organizational collaboration between fellows, and team calls is wonderful. I was also impressed by the way that the UNHSI team balances strong organizational structures, e.g. the work plan and feedback on that work plan, with mindfulness and grace towards nonprofit organizations, NGOs that may already be overwhelmed. I should also mention at this point that prior to coming to UNH and coordinating the program, I myself also hosted a fellow when I was at a nonprofit, and I can really mirror this experience as well with my experience of having a fellow. So we've already touched on that the fellowship experience is set apart in that the fellow really is owning the project. They're not just supporting the project, right? They're really owning it. They're working 40 hours a week and there's a design impact on your organization and training the next generation of those sustainability leaders. But I want to step back and highlight the top 3 squares that you see here. So we're really excited because this past summer was our 16th cohort. So we have over 16 years of experience. And with that, the fellowship program started in 2008. And every summer we take time after the summer to reflect and reassess so that we can further define the fellowship program and how to continue to grow and evolve to best meet the needs of our host organizations and students. And we can continue to improve on how we can best provide our scaffolding of support that you'll have leading you through the spring and the summer. And then the recruitment component, this is really key for what we offer. So you design the project, and then we recruit a highly qualified fellow with qualifications tailored to the needs of your project and organization. We do this through UNH and our hundreds of contacts at universities and programs across the US to get the best candidates possible. And then collaboration. As a part of the fellowship summer cohort, you're part of an active network who meets during the spring and summer, meeting up in person at the launch event to continue to grow your network and share resources so that we can work together to achieve your goals and ultimately the goals of the SDGs. So here we have another quote from a mentor. This is a 2023 mentor. I just think it's so wonderful to hear some experiences. Of course, I'm so excited to hear shortly from Jared and Stephanie as well. But this quote says, UNHSI made this very easy for the host organization between communication, the guide, and clear emails. The fellowship was huge for us as they were able to work on a project that we had on our to-do list for 2 years wanting to get done. Now we have a roadmap to move forward with. The quality of our fellow was top-notch. I would not hesitate to do this again. So, accepted proposals leading up to the summer. Your proposal is accepted. What is next? So this is what will happen in preparation for leading up to the summer and really what makes for that successful summer. So with support from UNH, host organizations write a fellow project description. We have a complete template in place with this and past examples. So you'll have everything you need to support you. And a lot of information will also come from your proposal as well as you write the description. And together we'll finalize that description, and that is what will be used to market your specific project opportunity to your potential fellows. And then that's when UNH markets the fellowships to those top undergraduate students at UNH and at UNH and across the US for the post-baccalaureate cohort. So our undergrad cohort is only going to be UNH undergrads, which are really positioned to take on these sustainability fellowships. And then for the post-baccalaureate positions, we do recruit from UNH heavily, but then also we cast a wider net for anyone affiliated with a US university. So we'll then review our applications and send you the top applications for your review. And once you choose who from that group you'd like to interview, we'll then set up co-interviews for the top candidates, and then you'll choose your fellow. Around the same time, we'll look at the projects for the summer, and with you, we'll coordinate, or not with you in this sense, but with your projects, we coordinate project advisory groups, which are organized around project themes. So we have that larger cohort of maybe 40 to 45 fellows for 2024, but we like to break it down into smaller groups. And these project groups are led by advisors with expertise to support host organizations and fellows before and during the summer. And finally, the last step as the summer approaches is to craft a detailed 10-week work plan for your project. So once again, we have templates and examples of past projects, so you really have support knowing what your work plan should look like. And this is where your project advisor will review, and together you'll come up with the best plan for your fellow to accomplish your high impact project in that quick summer turnaround. So what does the summer look like? So we'll hear, of course, more from Jared and Stephanie, but I want to just give you this template, and we'll get into that more on the next slide. But fellows, of course, are focused on their fellowship project with their host organization. So your fellow will be working on a day-to-day basis with you while being supported through program activities organized by UNH that they'll participate in. So those activities are designed to set the stage for collaborating with other fellows, to offer them support throughout the summer, and to help them develop their skills as well. So some of the highlights are listed here. We start off the summer with a 2-day orientation where the fellows get a chance to know one another, the UNH team, as well as the host organization mentors as they join for the second day of orientation. And this is an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the projects that will be going on during the summer and lay that foundation for collaboration. And then during the summer on a weekly basis, there are a couple different activities that will take place. Fellows meet weekly with their small advisory group. So that's that smaller cohort that I mentioned earlier. This group is a sort of sounding board for the fellows, a place to work out issues, talk to others about the work that they're doing. And each of those groups have those 2 advisors to help them and guide the group during the summer. We also have an alumni webinar series and a professional development series as well, where we're able to support the fellows in different areas of sustainability. And we have a couple of presentations during the fellowship to make sure the fellows are on track with their work and to showcase their work as well. And this takes place with the in-person launch event and then the virtual final showcase presentations. So those are some of the highlights of the activities that happen on the program side, which are a supplement and that scaffolding, which go along with your fellows projects. So what do past organizations and mentors have to say? So today we have 2 amazing host organization mentors with us. Many thanks to both of them for joining us today to give us a better glimpse into the fellowship host experience. So thank you so much, Stephanie and Jared. So we'll start with Stephanie. Stephanie is the Director of Sustainability at the town of Amherst. Many thanks for kicking us off.
Thank you so much, Alexis. I'm going to do my best not to gush too much about the program because I just think this is such an amazing opportunity for communities. I will talk about my fellows, but I do want to say that if anyone is concerned about the application process or writing up your project, UNH has been so, Sustainability Institute has been so incredibly supportive, and the formatting does make it so easy. And they're there to work with you every step of the way. So you really don't have to get too concerned about just even the application process. So there's a lot of support, and I would say don't let that be a daunting barrier for you. We got two amazing fellows this summer. One was working with us on updating our greenhouse gas emissions inventory. She worked in a cubicle right beside me the whole summer, but barely ever even needed my help. I kept asking. We had weekly meetings, but other than updates, they really were able to work very independently, both fellows. The other fellow that we had working with us was looking at creating an inventory of all the municipal building HVAC systems. And that was because we are looking to try to convert away from fossil fuels and transition our municipal buildings to electricity and heat pumps. So we needed some kind of an inventory of everything that we had. And what I did for that particular project was, even though I wrote everything up and was technically the mentor, I actually paired that fellow with our facilities director. So the facilities director got to work really closely with this fellow, and technically I was the mentor, but he was the one who worked more directly with him. So it really gave him an opportunity in his really busy schedule to actually have access to some of the buildings that even he hadn't been in, that were sort of overseen by some other departments. So it was a really great experience having both our fellows. They worked very independently. We got two incredible products from them. They are incredibly useful products for us. There are things that I would not have the time to work on. I would say the investment for the fellows is completely worth it if you think about the staff time that you would otherwise need to put towards doing the work or projects that you probably have a need to get done. It's a great investment. So I can't say enough. I feel like the products that we received were really high quality, high caliber. I have had interns as well. This is a totally different experience. They are supported through the process as well, which I think is very unique to this program. It was wonderful, the collaboration that my two fellows had this summer with each other as well, because they were located on the same floor. They actually got to communicate quite a bit. But on top of that, they had their whole network of folks through the program to rely on as well. Also, I would say that the events that are held where mentors are invited to hear about the other projects, incredibly useful. In fact, the facilities director did join me on the last call and said that even just listening, he found that he was interested in so many projects that other communities or other organizations were doing, that we found that we might want to reach out and get the reports from those projects, because we feel like they could be useful information for us as well. So just, I can't say enough about this opportunity. It's so worthwhile. I highly recommend it. And I look forward to our next fellowships.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And like I said, we'll have Jared speak next, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So if anyone wants to chat in questions now, to make sure that they're addressed at the end, or you can raise your hand and unmute towards the end as well. But Stephanie and Jared will be amazing for asking questions because of that firsthand experience. And I have firsthand experience, but it's been a few years now. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And it's so unique that both of our mentors who are speaking today did host two fellows this past summer. So highly recommend, as Stephanie mentioned, they're working on those separate projects, but they really were able to collaborate together, which is incredible as well. So next we have Jared Fuller. He's at Prime Buckholt and is the head of private capital and real assets research. Thank you so much,
Alexis.
Jared.
And I'm going to echo a lot of what's been said too, because it's been great to be a part of the program. We have had fellows for 6 years now here at Prime Buckholt. So I'll just talk a little bit about what they do. And the other thing I think people are probably hearing is it really becomes a community of the mentors and the fellows. So you have opportunities to participate in these group events. And so to the extent anyone has questions that they think of after or anything, feel free to reach out, because it really feels like you're a part of a broader community by being in this program. So just briefly, Prime Buckles, we are investment consultants primarily to nonprofit institutions. And we do a lot of different, I work in research on investment managers and opportunities. And as part of that, in our sustainability efforts, we also do pretty in-depth scoring and evaluation of investment managers that we work with clients on. And so our project is based upon having the sustainability fellows work on our yearly scoring of all these managers. And the first thing I'll say that jumps out with the program is when the fellows come in, a lot because of the structure and just because of the education and training that they've already had. I mean, the expectations at this point are high because they come in and they're ready to go on the projects. And the fellows that we have, they're doing presentations along the way. We have them present to our firm. We're 130 people. We'll have them present via a Zoom or in person on the progress that they make. They get involved in committees that we have. And so, I mean, the fellows have been fantastic in terms of what they bring from the get-go. We do other intern programs and have interns. And as mentioned, all the structure that you do up front is really important to the success and the value that they bring. So I'll talk about the initial process. So you during the RFP process, you do a lot of structuring of the project. We've been doing it for a few years. So for us, it's building on what we've done in the past. But, the program folks are there to help for sure. And what we really find is by defining everything up front, it really helps over the course of the summer. I think I saw earlier, you can hit a lag in late July or August in the middle of the summer when you have interns and they're working on different things. There's none of that here. This is a 10-week program where you really have deliverables and progress that the fellows are working on through the whole time. The interview process. So the program folks are screening the interviewees. And so you get folks that are really applicable, but you do the interview process, and then you work with the organization to find the right people. Find that really helpful, and that helps facilitate it all. So that's been a positive. We've had great folks. We've hired a couple people. We've had 2 fellows the last few years. We had single fellows, I think the first couple of years, but a couple of them still work here that were fellows from a few years ago. In terms of other attributes, I will say that it's project-based, but the project is broad. And as you define it, I do think, at least for us, thinking of it as not a one-year project, but continuing on, we're already thinking about sort of where we build from this year to last year. And even in the terms of the community, we have fellows from last year. They're sort of setting up the fellows for this year for success in terms of things to do. So we've been evolving the process of what they work on year to year, and that's been another great aspect of being a part of the program. But as I said, it really is fantastic. It's a project that has evolved beyond what we could have done with it, I think, on our own. But having the fellows involved has been really helpful. So well worth it for us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jared. And I think that's a really good point that I may have missed earlier, is that building off of one another for each summer. So just looking at this past summer, we had 36 organizations, with some of them like Prime and Tandem Amherst with more than one, so 40 fellows, but 18 organizations were actually repeat organizations, which we love to see because they're building on that. And then we even have an organization that had a fellow in 2022 summer, and they really liked the project work, but they wanted to build on it some more on their own, and maybe with like some shorter interns. And then this coming summer, 2024, they're actually going to have 2 fellows. So really like going out and thinking about the fellowship projects, a part of a bigger like long-term 5-year plan, sometimes is really helpful to think about it. So fantastic. Thank you so much, Jared. And remember, think of those questions for them, because this is your chance. And of course, we can connect you afterwards if you think of some. But all right, so let me share my screen so we can talk a little bit more about the RFP before we go into that question section. All right, so thank you so much for providing that invaluable perspective. I'm not even going to read this quote because Jared and Stephanie spoke for that. But so let's dive into the RFP. So now you have like that bigger view. I kind of like, it sounds backwards to talk more about the program first and the summer first and then the RFP, but I really find it helpful to have that vision in mind when moving forward with responding with your proposal. So as you probably already know, the RFP is currently out. And if you haven't looked at it yet, I'll kind of guide you through some of it, but the biggest piece is the project proposal. So when you're completing it through the link in forms, you'll be asked to complete and upload a project proposal, and it's linked right there in the RFP application itself. But also you can find it on our website, which I'll chat in a minute. Let me just actually grab it now. Just pause this. If you want to look at it right now. There you go. So if you scroll down to apply to host a fellow and it's an accordion and you click on it, you'll see you can click there to download the project proposal. That's going to be the meat of your application. So if you complete that, the RFP itself then will just fly by. The rest is just more general application fill-in information sections. But this project proposal is what you'll be thinking about, and this is so we can understand your project. So you'll be outlining the basics of what the project will be that you'll have the fellow working on for the summer. So I've added the link to the chat, but in case anyone is watching this in the recording, I just wanted to have up on the screen the link so they can write it down and quickly go find that. Once again, it's in the RFP link too, but it's on our website as well. So this question you see here comes up a lot when organizations are applying. Can you host a fellowship fully remote? So the design of the project and the format and location is really up to you. The project work may be fully in person, coming in 5 days a week. It could be fully remote, or it could be a hybrid model. So we saw all 3 of those this past summer, all successful, but I just encourage you to think about it, like what is actually needed. And when you're writing the project proposal for the RFP, you don't need to do too much brainstorming about what that actually looks like. But when we write the project description together, we'll want to make sure that we really highlight what that is in terms of if it's fully in person, you know, like what makes it so amazing to be in person, to get those fellows excited to apply and looking forward to coming in person, or if it's fully remote, how are you supporting them through your work? How are you still connecting with them? And then a hybrid model is what so many fellows or applicants are kind of already used to, but just sharing a little bit on how that is. So you don't need to have that fully shaped out for the RFP proposal, but it's just good to think about it when choosing one of those 3 options. And then fellows will often relocate depending on the location and the format of the fellowship. All right, what a project might look like. So kind of going back to those 17 UN SDGs, right? It's a huge umbrella of opportunity for what the fellows could work on. So I think a good place to start to think about this is you can actually see the project descriptions from 2023 still up on our student-facing website. So let me grab that link. You can see it here on the screen, but I know you can't click it, so I'll type that in here. So if you scroll down to 2023 project descriptions, there's an accordion for 2023 fellowship project descriptions and cohort eligibility. And through there, you can look at some of the examples for 2023. And this can give you a vision of the large scope of projects that fellows can work on. And of course, your project proposal won't need to be as detailed as these descriptions, but it's a useful place to get the ideas flowing of what a fellow can accomplish. And as mentioned before, we provide the template for this description, and your proposal will really feed into this template as well. So co-supporting a fellow. In the RFP, you'll see information about that co-support. So UNH mutually invests with the host partners in the learning experience of each fellow and the impactful outcome of each project. So fellows receive compensation for their work according to their level of education, and as well as UNH provides a lot of programming support, as we've talked about in the scaffolding, from advisors to the in-person event. So host partners are asked to contribute at the following rates for 2024, the undergrad fellow at $7,500 and the post-baccalaureate at $9,500. So that's remained the same as 2023. And if that raises any concerns, I definitely want to address the asterisks here at the bottom, is that UNH raises funds to enable partners to host fellows, even if they're not able to contribute at this level. So in the proposal, you'll see you'll have the opportunity to state the level at which you contribute. So maybe it's at 100%, but maybe you're able to contribute 25% or a specific dollar amount. So you'll be able to share that right there in the project or in the RFP response. And it's through the generous support of Jane's Trust Foundation, partner organizations, alumni of the program, and others that UNH is able to offer the grants to offset a portion of the partner's contribution. And that is especially for small municipalities and nonprofits. So I just want to mention here is that last year we had, amazing individuals on this information session like yourself. And there was one who reached out to me and said, I'm so excited, we're going to do it. And then we talked a bunch, we emailed back and forth, and then they're like, look, we can't do it. We just don't have the funding. And I was like, no, apply. Like, you never know. Like, we might have the funding, or we might even have a funder who's specifically interested in your project work. Of course, I can make no promises. So I told them, just put something together, get it in so I can have it as an official submission and I can see what we can do on our end. And they were able to have a fellow for 2023. So that was really exciting. So meet with me if you want to, but definitely apply and say what you're able to do. And what's the worst case scenario is that we're not able to fund it, but the best case scenario is that you have a fellow and this incredible impact moves forward. So what are the next steps that you should be taking now? So look at the RFP if you haven't already, and download the project proposal form to begin brainstorming and writing out your project. And reminder, your project application won't be as detailed as those project descriptions on our website, but if your project is chosen, your proposal will be that backbone for the project description. And reach out to me if you have any questions along the way. I'm happy to set up a phone call to answer any questions as you put your application together. Really, it is a team here at UNH that we want to support you in your work. So really happy to meet with you, answer questions, brainstorm your project, and get your project proposal in time. So that's where you see the key dates here. October 16th is when project proposal review begins. So that's when our team will look at the submissions and start looking at them and seeing who we want to accept. But you have to really remember, October 16th is just kind of like pre-review, right? But November 3rd is that deadline for project proposal submission. So you have plenty of time. The project proposal really shouldn't hopefully take you too much time. Once you have that idea in mind, that is your driving force to applying. So once you have that idea in mind and articulated, the project proposal submission shouldn't take long at all. So reach out to me if for some reason you're stuck. But once you have that idea in mind, I hope the full application doesn't take more than 30 minutes. And then November 28th is the exciting day that we let you know if your project has been selected. All right, so we've made it to the question and answer portion. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but feel free to chat in any questions that you may have. You may raise your hand and unmute yourself. We love to hear from you directly. And just a reminder, those two links that I chatted in, the first one is the one for the partners. So that's one you'll want to look at for more information, and some of the answers to your questions may be there as well. But I think this is a perfect time to have some of your questions answered live. I know we couldn't have addressed everything. Anyone in the chat or anyone want to unmute yourself? Questions on the RFP about mentoring a fellow? about the interview process, about how many hours they work. They work, I know is on one of the slides, they work 400 hours over the summer of a 12-week time span. So that really works out to 10 full-time weeks. So they really are working full-time with you on your project. So you can imagine how much can get done over the summer. And then they have that flexibility with about 2 weeks of time off spread throughout the summer. And they are hired as a UNH adjunct staff. So UNH, we go through the HR process with them, and that is how they are paid. You know, that's a question a lot of times. Jared and Stephanie, I'm so surprised we had so many questions last year. We have a quiet group.
We must have answered them all up front, right?
Yes. Jared and Stephanie, any questions that or anything you wanted to add to what you had to share earlier? Oh, here we have one. How many prospective host organizations typically apply for the 36 spots? So that's a good question. So there's not exactly 36 spots. We ended up having 36 with 40 fellows last year. This year, we're looking to grow it a little bit. We might be doing 45 to 50 fellows. We'll see what happens. So that's a really good question. It varies how many apply. I don't like to say that we turn organizations down necessarily, because then it is a competitive program. But if yours is a very well thought out project proposal, I will reach out to you and try to get you to the finish line. And if we can't get you to the finish line, we most often will have conversations before that. And it's kind of like a mutually agreed upon decision. That's a really unique thing, right? You're not applying to a national program where it's hard to reach maybe the program coordinator. It's me. So reach out to me and I'll try to get you to the finish line for having a fellow. And if it doesn't work, maybe that means we're thinking about summer 2024 and what we can better, or 2025, to think about what we can better do to support you as you lead up to that fellowship summer. Great question. Thank you, Jacob.
Alexis, one thing I will say that I didn't say earlier is that we actually had a fellow in 2017 do our baseline greenhouse gas emissions inventory. So I didn't mention that this fellow that we had this year, or one of our fellows, was follow up to that original work. And the really wonderful thing about it was that that original fellow had really set things up for this fellow to come in and just step in and laid everything out, so that it made it so much easier for this fellow to come in and sort of pick up the mantle. And I think the reason why was that person was sort of approaching this with the idea that the next person who will come in and do this will need this information. And so that was incredibly useful. And I think this fellow sort of also had that mindset in developing the data set and the work as well. So I think the point about how fellows can really sort of take the mantle of the work that was started and continue. And I fully imagine that in the next 5 years, when we want an update to our greenhouse gas emissions inventory, we'll once again reach out to the fellows program.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie. Any other questions? I think maybe, hopefully you're just all supported and all excited to apply. Oh, yes. I see a hand raised. Jacob, thank you.
Hi, everybody. I appreciate, Alexis, that you touched a little bit on just I hadn't realized there was so much flexibility in terms of whether these were remote or hybrid or fully in person. And I, full disclosure, was a fellow about 4 years ago myself, in the first year that they were fully remote during summer of 2020. And that experience went pretty well. And so I guess I'm sort of asking this question from the perspective of a recent fellow and a potential host, of just like the pros and cons of asking folks to relocate in different places for these these fellowships and these opportunities. I just didn't know you, Stephanie, you, Jared, or you, Alexis, if you just had more thoughts on that you were considering as you were designing a fellowship application.
That's a great question. Jared, you're local mostly because you're so close to UNH.
Yeah, so, and we've had experience. So we had fellows through 2020, 2021 when they were fully remote. And we are currently hybrid. So our fellows this summer were hybrid. First off, my experience is that the fellows have been really flexible, and because of the structure they're given, that mitigates some of the risk of being all remote, in that you don't they're not on open-ended projects with open-ended timelines. I mean, you know what they're doing because they're progressing through the project, the 10 weeks pretty rigorously. So I'd say there's less risk to what can happen if someone's fully remote. But our fellows have wanted to be interactive in the office. I mean, they've gotten involved in other departmental meetings and other things. So we have found that having them in the office, and we have weekly meetings with the fellows when they're here. So there is a benefit to the in-office, but I don't think it's all lost if you're doing fully remote either.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah, we had both our fellows chose to be on site in the office, but they were given the option to work remotely if they felt they needed to. We just wanted to offer them that flexibility. But I do think there's a benefit, you know, as Jared said, to having them in the office, and that they really get to engage with other departments, other aspects of, you know, municipal government. So I think that was really helpful to have them there. So in my mind, you know, hybrid might be ideal. Fully remote, I think, you know, given the times, that made sense. But if you can at least have people there on a hybrid basis, I think it's really beneficial to have them really immerse themselves in the work environment.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I think that's a really great question, and kind of those benefits of being in that hybrid role that Stephanie and Jared mentioned, I think is something that we'll be trying to describe more in the position description, because it is so valuable to come in person and have those in-person meetings. And as Jared mentioned, like even have meetings with other departments, because I think in the past, it's been so like easy for fellows to be in person, you know, they never knew anything different. And now that they see remote as such an option, and a lot of times more in their comfort zone, we just see fellows, we see so many fellows who are fine and they're excited and they want hybrid, like Stephanie and Jared's fellows. But I guess I'm getting at, how can we further develop our future fellows to make sure that they know how much value they can get out of being in person or hybrid, just because I see that we're seeing fellows who haven't gotten out of their comfort zone as much as ones 5+ years ago. So that's just something that we're like seeing just in the tiniest amount, but we just always like to address everything here at UNH. But I think they're always successful. We just want to make sure that they're excited about it as well. I see that there's a question about the 3 dimensions of sustainability. There's a tendency of ignoring the social dimension. 100%. We absolutely love having all 3 dimensions, and especially the social dimension. I would love to see more projects that address that, because the ones that did address that last year did receive so many applicants, because so many students and post-baccalaureates are looking for that work. So highly encourage you to apply if you have projects in that area. Is there a geographic boundary for participating host orgs? Is there a preference for New Hampshire-based locations? Really great question. We try to focus our projects based on the New England area. So, you know, this last year we had Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and DC, I believe, are the main regions that we were in. The reason we try to focus on New England is that's the majority, you know, the UNH student population, but also we're trying to recruit. We do recruit across the US. And this past year, you know, we had students from California and Georgia and Alabama as fellows, but we try to think of our carbon footprint because we do bring everyone together at the launch event. And if everyone is coming from the New England area, that'll make our carbon footprint a little bit less than if we had projects across the whole entire United States. So that's where we are at right now because we are still doing the in-person launch. Could we expand in the future? Yes, but right now we see so much value in that launch. But so hopefully that answers your questions. There's no preference for New Hampshire-based locations, New England, and I guess DC isn't really considered New England, so further south too. All right, well, I won't take more of Stephanie and Jared's time if that was it, but thank you all so much for participating today. It means so much to us that you're interested in hosting a fellow, not only because of your organizations accomplishing this incredible work, but also offering that experiential education opportunity for those students and post-baccalaureates to really shape their career learning journey, and then also for achieving those changes as we all work towards the common goal of moving towards the SDGs. So thank you all so much for your time. Reach out to me anytime, alexis.dwyer@unh.edu, to set up a meeting. Happy to talk further. And hopefully I'll see your proposal submitted soon. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Stephanie and Jared.
Great to see you. Thanks.